As I got another rhyme, another rhythm for y'all to listen. I'm never quitting on my mission. I'm on roll with what I'm giving. Got some ambition, this new edition, filling positions. Looking at the void in myself and feeling what's missing. Better watch the way you going, better go in the right direction. In the moment you stressing, but you gon' be counting blessings. And I know that for certain. Keep on working, open curtains. Haters swerving, cause they ain't ready for your final version. I'm never gonna give up.
You're listening to the Tom Ficklin Show on WNHH LP 103.5 FM, your home for community radio.
Good morning, everyone. And Harry, thanks for kind of sharing that intro music from Zach Carter. We're going to spotlight Zach probably next week, and I'm going to play maybe 2 of his tracks, 2 or even 3 of his tracks for each of our shows over the next 4 or 5 weeks. I just love his talent and his music and his rhythm and his kickoff vibe for a Monday morning. And Eric Ray is with us this morning to kind of also help us kick off things for a Monday morning. And we're going to talk about what self-fulfillment means, what coaching means, what introspection means, and also feeding the body, mind, and spirit. So this guy is kind of a Renaissance person, and he's involved with coaching and what that means, fulfillment of coaching, kind of a personal way that we can kind of personally traverse this journey of life in a collective and individual fashion where it really benefits all. Also, we're going to talk about something called SOPA. I'm not going to tell you what that is, but SOPA, right?
That's it.
Or SOPA.
SOPA.
Yeah. SOPA. We're going to talk about that. And again, this is as we kind of enter the Thanksgiving and gratitude season. I won't mention in terms of the historical misnomer about how this Thanksgiving thing evolved, but the Thanksgiving spirit is something that we can always embrace, not only in November, but 24/7, 365. Also music and art. So he does a lot. Eric, I was just thinking in preparation for your coming, we were involved with the community leadership program.
Indeed.
But it also dawns on me when I was doing some research the other day on the health issues that you graduated from the fellow program for the Connecticut Health Foundation.
I did.
And what year was that, by the way?
Oh, God.
2014, I think it's 2015.
It was a little while back.
Yeah.
It was, 2014 sounds about right.
Yeah, around there. And so I graduated in 2011 from it. So we have that in common as well. And I mentioned the Community Leadership Program and the Connecticut Health Foundation. Check out those fellowship programs. Check out those 2 things. They're still in operation. Again, if you're looking for your 2019 planning in terms of how you can coach yourself, motivate yourself, get involved with things. So the Community Leadership Program from the William Graustein Memorial Fund,
yeah.
One of those 2,
yeah.
and the Connecticut Health Foundation Fellowship Program are things worth looking into. We have these opportunities here, worldwide, but particularly in Connecticut, where you can kind of get involved and share your wealth and share your health and share your trauma, because to heal yourself, you got to kind of be involved with folks. So Eric, good morning, good to see you.
Good morning, good to see you, man.
As always, it's a pleasure for you to be here, and you're not a stranger to radio land, and you're not a stranger to storytelling land.
No.
You were part of the Concat, or through Karen Du Bois Walton, Kevin Walton. You had a chance to share your story there. I think it's online.
Yeah.
But coaching, what's coaching all about? You've made a personal investment in terms of your brand and your energy and your talents.
For sure. Yeah. So coaching. See, the easiest way to describe it, Tom, I think, would be to say that coaching is a specific kind of powerful relationship that me as a coach develops with a client.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is that we work together to help the client really discover their true capacity for fulfillment. That's the idea. It's different from, a lot of people think, well, it's like find happiness, right?
Yes.
And the reality is some of the most fulfilling times in our life are actually not happy moments. They can be very powerful moments or moments filled with grief. But the way you show up in that moment makes the difference between whether you find fulfillment or not, right? And so my role is to help people really sort of explore their capacity to live into their values.
And I appreciate your sharing that. We're going to kind of dig even deeper and delve deeper in terms of the meanings and the connotation of what you just said. If people are just tuning in the Tom Ficklin Show, and Eric, I'm not embarrassed at all. In fact, the show is about people sharing their purpose and their passion and their product. So
Sure.
the official title, your IRS name.
Right. My IRS name is Eric Ray.
Oh, I'm sorry, your business name.
Oh, the business name. Okay, great. The business name is Potent Perspective Coaching.
Mm-hmm. Potent
Yes.
Perspective Coaching.
Yes.
Potent Perspective Coaching. Potent Perspective Coaching.
That's
and we can
it.
find out more about you.
I have a website, so you can go to potentperspective.com or on Facebook. I'm Potent Perspective Coaching. I think LLC is on there.
Great.
But,
So let's continue. I mean, we've heard for a while. I mean, people would think even perhaps yesterday, Sunday, where you went to church, that you were receiving some coaching, or whether you're on the baseball field or football field or just in school coaching. But I like Eric's perspective, and we're going to have. I wanted to mention to you, Eric, that over the next 12 months or so, I'll have a few folks in town that are involved with this issue of healing and coaching and introspection and reflection. But share a little bit more about coaching and Potent Perspective. What you're up to in that regard?
Yeah. So we're engaged in a bunch of different things. I do a fair amount of one-on-one coaching. So that's just me working with individuals.
Mm-hmm.
I also facilitate workshops built around story, workshops built around values identification. I'm working on a pretty cool webinar series that's going to take people through a 3-month program that is really designed to build an individual in a couple of different sort of ways. So one is around building a growth mindset, and sort of figuring out where you fall. Everyone falls somewhere in a spectrum of growth versus fixed mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is that we want to lean more towards the growth mindset as much as possible. And then I do a piece about resilience and how to maintain resilience. Resilience is actually a practice. It's not a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last piece is around values identification, building your own personal mission statement and purpose statement, and then living into those values.
Okay, that's tremendous. If folks want to kind of call in or email you or be on your listserv or be notified when the webinar will launch, how can they go about that?
Yeah, so you can send me a note, email me directly at eric@potentperspective.com. You can go to my website and send me a note that way, or you can hit me on Facebook, which is Potent Perspective Coaching.
Tremendous. Is the webinar restricted just to people here, and this might sound like a facetious question, but from New Haven or statewide or domestically or even internationally?
Trying to be worldwide, Tom. I'm trying to be worldwide, man. So it'll be online. So it'll be anywhere where you have an internet connection. You can take advantage of the program.
But in terms of cultural differences or ideological differences, I mean, are you still kind of capable to kind of, if I'm in Brazil and want to kind of be involved with it, are there going to be any, and as long as I speak English, are there going to be any impediments to my kind of understanding what your theory is?
No, I don't think so. I think one of the nice things about these concepts is that they're sort of universally applicable. They're sort of without regard for any kind of cultural perspective or religious inclinations or anything like that. These ideas can be applied through just about any lens, I think.
Good.
But you are right that at least at this stage of the game, everything is in English.
Good. And I know you have a Spanish background as well in terms of your DNA, so I can see you expanding into that area as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. My mom's Puerto Rican, and so culturally, that's my background.
Indeed. Let's continue to talk about coaching a little bit, because it's interesting. I've been on this track of life for a few rotations, and it's sometimes when you hear words that kind of appear and reappear and become dormant, then become resurrected kind of thing. But there seems to be an upswing on people recognizing that this species, this human kind of equation, is something that we have to, as you say, practice and redefine and kind of be diligent about, but also have joy in the quest. So, what's kind of attracted you to this endeavor? Because again, you're putting your brand out there, you're putting yourself out there. I mean, it's a coach cannot hide.
No,
so you're looking for people to not only invest in you from a financial standpoint, but invest in you from a trust standpoint, from a confidence standpoint, from from even a faith standpoint.
Sure. Well, actually like to think about this a little bit differently, Tom.
Okay.
I think the investment is really in yourself.
Okay.
Right. And that's the idea. So I've invested in myself all my life. I've
Mhm.
always looked for ways to expand and to grow and to build my own personhood, right? To just
Okay.
being a citizen of the world and being in connection with people. And over that time, I've learned that one of the most powerful forces in the world, one is love for
Mhm.
sure, but then it's this ability to sort of connect with people, right? And that's something that I've worked really hard to develop over the years. And so I'm in a place now where I sort of recognize the ways in which those two things, really, love and connection, can really help to unlock a lot of potential in society at large, but certainly in an individual. So I think of this as really an investment in the self. Right. So you're not sort of investing in me. I think we're exchanged. Certainly there's some money exchanges.
Yes.
So there's balance. The universe has got to be in balance.
Yes.
Right. But really, this is an investment in,
I like that.
in yourself.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. And as we were chatting, kind of my intro with your participating in the community leadership program and the Connecticut Health Foundation, I guess those are two vivid examples of this investing in yourself as well.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Those two things were pivotal actually to me making the decision to become an official coach.
Mm-hmm.
I've been coaching in some capacity for probably, I don't know, maybe 10, 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
I did a lot of work with folks coming out of incarceration,
Mm-hmm.
helping them connect to themselves, society, employment,
That's right.
housing, healthcare, all that stuff. I was doing that for many years, actually. And then participating in the community leadership program really helped to kind of focus on what I wanted to do for myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so shortly thereafter, I went and got certified as a
Yes.
coach. So I actually have a certification through an organization called the Coaches Training Institute. So I'm a certified professional coactive coach is my designation to CPCC. But I took that very seriously. I think there's a lot of people who sort of call themselves coaches or say that they're coaches, but don't really understand all of the principles,
Yes.
the ethics behind it. And so it's more than just kind of hanging a shingle and saying, "Here I am, world, I'm a coach." I think it does require some study, and certainly there's a certifying body. And,
Yes, yes.
yeah.
Again, you're listening to the Tom Ficklin Show, and Eric Ray is with us. Are you principal or founder or chief or the Moses or chief cook and bottle washer of Potent? How do you describe yourself?
Yeah, so I use principal. I am the founder, but I use principal because it's not just me. I sort of think of it as a collective. I'm the only one at Potent Perspective, but nobody does anything in a vacuum. So yeah.
Indeed. And we can find about Potent Perspective how again? Find out more?
So you can jump online at potentperspective.com, or you can find me on Facebook at Potent Perspective Coaching.
Excellent. What intrigued me, a lot about you intrigued me, and I'm glad you referenced, a lot about you intrigues me, and I'm glad you referenced the working for the recidivism issue and mass incarceration, how to diminish the mass incarceration phenomenon, and just you're working for the city and with Benita Grubbs' outfit, you kind of hung out there for a little bit.
Yeah.
Hopefully you weren't hung out to dry, but you hung out to thrive.
No, not at all.
I saw Benita the other day.
Yeah. Oh no, but my time there was a fascinating.
Yes.
It was a fantastic time there, and fascinating in many ways. I learned a lot from working with her, seeing the way that she worked. And also just about that world. I had only intersected with homelessness in as much as many of the young men and women that I dealt with coming out of incarceration also had bouts of homelessness.
Yes.
But sort of being in the shelter and kind of seeing it, firsthand and kind of looking at some of the challenges that people face was eye-opening, to say the least.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And working for the city of New Haven as well.
Yeah. Did that for many years. Was there probably just over 2 years. So I don't know if you'd call that many, but
okay,
enough to
a rich
learn my way around.
experience.
A rich experience for sure. Yeah.
What intrigued me in terms of your methodology, and I mean, there's a number of skill sets and strategies that you use in your coaching, coaching arsenal. But Edgewood Park, walking around, meet
Yeah.
me. Is that something that was just a temporal experiment? Or is that part of your portfolio? Or
No, it's a part of the work. So so there's a couple of things I can say about it's branded. It's called Let's Walk About It.
let's walk about it.
Let's Walk About It. Yeah, and so there's a couple of things that I'm trying to do there. One is it's very low cost. It's $30 for 30 minutes, and I wanted to keep some part of my practice very accessible to people from a financial perspective. That's something that's important to me.
Yes.
I want to be able to serve all communities, and I think that this is something that would benefit all communities. And so I wanted to have a very low cost option. So that's one, and I think that's one of the more important things. I think there's also something important about movement and nature, and sort of being, kind of combining those two things. And there is also something magical about kind of two people walking together and a shoulder and shoulder, moving through the world together. It represents a literal journey. And so my hope is that at the end of the walk, we would have taken a journey somewhere in service of my client's agenda. And at the end of the journey, that they've arrived in a place different from when they got to me. So that's really the sort of the soup, if you will, of Walkabout It.
Well, I mean, you've teased us, but you just reminded me. Maybe I have to talk to Harry about whether we can do a live show and just broadcast that 30-minute walk through the park. But give me a little. You've done a few of these before.
Yeah.
Not to share all your inner secrets, but what are some of the things that you've discovered, or dialogues that take place, or issues that people raise during those 30 minutes?
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's all kinds of stuff. I mean, people are beautiful and complex and wonderful, and so really, I come in there as sort of as empty as possible. Yes. I don't have an agenda for the client. It's really what the client wants to talk about and what the client wants to discuss.
Yes.
So all kinds of issues come up, from, I want to stop smoking, to I'm entering this new phase in life. It's this transition. You have adults dealing with older parents. You have younger folks trying to sort of manage the expectations of their children or their parents. It's I mean, there is a
few more teasers.
Yeah, there is varied. What else?
Addictions or suicide or
so good, and I'm glad you asked that question, because there are some things that are not necessarily appropriate for coaching, right? In the case where some people actually need therapy, then if I have a conversation with somebody and I think that their sort of challenges exceed the limits of what coaching can actually help with, is actually not ethical for me to try to maintain them as a client, but actually I would refer them on to a higher level of care in terms of therapy. Now, therapy and coaching can certainly work together, but I'm not a therapist, right? And so I think it's probably important to kind of describe the difference between coaching and therapy.
Please,
this is a good spot for that. So therapy really is one major difference is that therapy is interested in diagnosis, right? So therapy is going to say, you have this disorder, you have this disease in terms of addiction or something like that. And so that's the kind of the realm of therapy. And therapy is also very backwards looking. They want to find the sort of origin of a dysfunction, for example. Coaching is very forward looking. Coaching wants to say, okay, here's where we are. Here's where you want to get to. How do we get there from here? How do we use the tools that we have in coaching to get you from where you are to where you want to be, right? Coaching can often be therapeutic, and sometimes things from your past do come up in coaching.
Yes.
But we don't focus our energy there. We say, okay, that was a thing. This thing happened when you were in high school. You're still dealing with some of that residue. Fine. How are we going to deal with it in the here and now and today? Okay, we're not interested in diagnosis. So I often say, if this is baseline, right? Therapy gets you from down here to baseline. It gets you to sort of normal, for lack of a better term, right? Coaching wants to take you from baseline to up here, from good to great. So that's more or less the primary difference. Another difference, I think, between therapy and coaching is, or I should say consulting and coaching. Consultants are subject matter experts. They have the answers for you, right? So you have a specific problem. I need a financial consultant, right? Well, that financial consultant knows all about the financial tools and knows what to do and this, that, and the third. Now, if you get a financial coach, the financial coach is not going to come in with all the answers, but actually going to come in with questions. What are you trying to accomplish? What do you need? Right. So consulting has answers. Coaches have questions.
Good.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. You're listening to the Tom Ficklin Show, and Eric Ray is with us, Chief Cook and Bottle Washer, founder and principal of
Potent Perspective Coaching.
Potent Perspective Coaching. Tell me about the name. I love people have known me or see me around town, and they probably get the idea, which is legitimate, that I'm a manufacturer of words, and I've made money off of visuals and words and symbols. But tell me about the name. How did that name kind of resonate with you or come to your vision?
Yeah. So while I was going through my coach's training, I knew pretty much immediately that I wanted to start a business, and thinking about, well, what am I going to call myself? And I think one of the more powerful things that I do in the context of coaching is to help people gain a different perspective. Oftentimes, our mindset, how we're looking at a challenge, can have real powerful impacts on the eventual outcomes. And so if folks are able to take, if I'm able to take a different vantage point, if I'm able to look at the circumstance from a different perspective, then I get more powerful or potent outcomes. So part of my work is to help people find their own potent perspective.
Good. I love that. Do you have your T-shirts already and your hats and your paraphernalia and your? I'm in class number one or alumni club or.
I do have. I have one T-shirt, but the only reason I even have that T-shirt is because I sponsored a basketball team. One of these little bitty basketball AAU basketball teams.
Okay.
It was. And I sponsored a team, and I paid for the uniforms.
Okay.
And so they gave me an honorary member of the team. So I have a potent perspective T-shirt.
Excellent. Again, the top. Any questions for me, man? I'll throw it's good for the goose. It's good for the goose. Good for the gander. It's good for the gander.
When you're gonna come walk about it with me?
I do want to walk about it. I got to kind of save up some of my. I'm from Pittsburgh, so we used to talk about soda cans. We say soda or pop. We used to say pop so I got to save up some pop and soda cans. And you said $30, right? So I'm one of those AARP senior citizens. So I got to. But maybe do you have a discount for seniors? Actually, are you thinking about doing that?
I don't have a discount for seniors currently, Tom.
All right, but you'll think about that.
But we'll talk. Yeah,
think about that.
Yeah, for sure.
No, I definitely would. And even on that note, in terms of myself, and I do hope to do it. Age groups. Would you say that you'll deal with people in their 60s, people in their 16? How young will you go? Have you thought about where? Because I really have an idea that as young as 12. I mean, just the young people. The older that I get, the more challenged I get in terms of perceiving where society is going and where the young people also are going. And again, you don't want to impose my bias of being on the planet for a number of years in terms of their success or their future. Yeah. But it seems to me that coaching is made, well, I guess critical. Adolescent development is always critical. Yeah. Young people. So, but have you had a chance to focus on that teenage group, or is that something down the road? I'm just curious where you see the need and let's be frank, the market opportunity as well.
Yeah, for sure. So the answer to your question is yes, across the board. So I do. I have done some work with young folks, groups of young folks. I don't know if you're familiar with a group called Emerge, Emerge Connecticut.
Yes.
So they, through Emerge, there's a program called Youth Build. and I've done several different workshops for Youth Build, and that is working with what they refer to as disconnected youth. So youth that have that do not have a college diploma or GED, but who are also not currently working. And that ranges from, I think on the low end, there are 16 or 17-year-olds up to 24-year-olds.
So let's elaborate on that a little bit. We say emerge in terms of Dan Jacina, and people will know Dan from also more than maybe 15, 20 years with Strive. And then Youth Build, when I was with Empower New Haven, we were involved with that. Youth Build, I know it's had checkered, the federal funding has been episodic over the last few years, but nonetheless, Youth Build is a tremendous program for people to learn, young people to learn the construction skills, et cetera. But let's talk a little bit more about, if we can, of that younger generation, whether they're disaffected, disengaged, overly affected to or committed or addicted to the bling bling society, or just it's just so I'm curious about my vision is that the need is just so great for the young folks to have some to be able to benefit from your services.
So I mean, I agree with you, and I think one of the workshops, for example, I did with them is a workshop called "Whose Story Is This?" And really, this is a reflection of the idea that so many of the images, so much of how we think of ourselves, particularly at a younger age, is actually not from us. It comes from other places. It comes from media. It comes from music. It comes from TV. It comes from parents or teachers that are struggling themselves. And so that creates this kind of mix of I'll call them falsehoods. Some might even call them lies about individuals. Oftentimes when you ask somebody, who are you? They will define themselves by their worst moments, right? And yet there's so much more to an individual than their worst moments, right? And so this workshop is really meant to, one, help people kind of re-examine the narratives that they have in their own head about themselves. And through that re-examination of the narrative, they can take on a more powerful perspective on themselves, right? So here's an example I like to use with folks. We've all had the experience of watching the same movie multiple times, right? Okay. So, and within the context of that experience, sometimes the second or the third or the fourth time you've seen a movie, you see something in that movie you've never seen before. Right? So what's different, Tom?
Well, if you're asking me, that what's different for me is that memory is temporal. We don't always remember everything. Also, feelings are varied. How you're feeling when you watch something kind of impacts how you remember it, if you remember it at all. And also, just the human brain is very much, there's a mystery element to what we call our cognitive perception and how the brain functions. So there's a lot of research on brain science, and we know also from the linguistic standpoint, you're conscious and unconscious. So there are a number of factors kick in terms of how you visualize something and how you kind of retain it and even resurrect it and also repeat it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So the simple answer to that, everything that you just said, is you.
Yes.
You are different.
Yeah. Yes.
You are different when you go back and you see that movie the fourth time. You say, oh, man, I never saw that before. Well, the same is true for your own personal narrative. If you don't go back and re-examine your own narrative time and time again, then you're going to be stuck with that same narrative. But as an individual, we are dynamic. We are constantly changing. We are constantly evolving, right? And so with older, perhaps more mature eyes, more experienced eyes, when we go back and look at that same instance, that same story, that same event that may have happened in our younger days, all of a sudden we have this different perspective on that thing. And so that's essentially at the heart of this workshop that I do with some of the young folks.
Excellent. And you listen to the Tom Ficklin Show, and Eric Ray is with us, the founder and principal of
Potent Perspective Coaching.
And just as you were chatting, Eric, it seems to me that, Addie's, the Citywide Youth Coalition would probably be interested in kind of working with you more.
I know Addis very well,
Church youth groups would be very interested in kind of chatting with you more, because sometimes young people that are in church, you could come in and not talk about the religious aspect, but just as you say, the personal development, personal fulfillment aspect, and adolescent development. I'm a big GQ magazine reader. Not that I purchase many things that are in GQ these days, but I've noticed over the last, I've been a magazine subscriber for the last 40 years, but I've noticed in the last 3 years, they really have gone after the black male youth market.
Interesting.
And spotlighting the rappers and bling bling clothes, but kind of influencing how a young person might see him or herself. And really nothing against the rappers, the young entrepreneurs, the young black entrepreneurs that are spotlighted on the cover.
Sure.
But again, those are to me they're trying to still stereotype, brainwash, etc.
Yeah.
How young people, particularly black males, might see themselves moving forward. So
they'll say they represent a very narrow view, right? Like certainly that's one perspective, but there's all kinds of different wonderful things that young people of color are up to, for sure. And magazines are interested in making money.
Their audience. That's right.
That's just what it is. So going into it with that lens and kind of understanding that can make all the difference. Except we also don't get equal representation of these other kind of images out there, of young folks who are out here, working for the community, doing wonderful things, doing healing work, building stuff. And I think those are equally important images.
I hesitate to move to another subject, but as time kind of moves forward. But again, we committed prior to us coming on the air that you'll be back, so that the method to my madness has a particular strategic kind of time frame. But SOPA.
Yeah, there it is. There's
SOPA.
There you go. That's it.
Fill me in. Not a clue. Fill my belly with good thoughts.
Yeah. So actually, you had mentioned that you saw the story that I did at the Storytellers event. Well, that actually, the part that I didn't tell at that event was the genesis of SOPA for me. So SOPA is a partnership with my brother and I. My brother Alejandro, hey, love you.
Hey Alejandro, what? Gotta have him on, man. Gotta bring some soup. Well, I won't tell the story. You go ahead.
And so basically the story goes like this. There's two parts of it. So one is my brother and I have been sort of scheming on ideas as long as the kid has been alive. He's my younger brother, so I get to call him the kid.
All right.
And so we've been, we've had tons of ideas that we've kicked around over the years. Probably about 2 or 3 years ago, we settled on some kind of food business. We're both very passionate about food.
Yes.
And so, but still kind of searching around for what was going to be the thing. And excuse me. While I was in Peru, one of the things about Peru is, or the particular place where I was staying in Peru, which was Cusco, Peru, it's very high up. It's just to give you perspective, they call Denver the Mile High City. Well, Peru is 2 miles up. Okay.
Okay.
And so that made it very difficult for me to breathe, which of course filtered into everything else. It made it difficult for me to move around. I had trouble sleeping. I was nauseous constantly. And because I was constantly nauseous, eating also became a challenge. And so the first meal that I could really stomach and actually felt nourished and felt good afterwards was soup. We found a place where I had a cup of soup, a bowl of soup, and felt it was like night and day walking in there and walking out. And it sort of made me kind of meditate on the nurturing quality of soup. When I was sick, one of the first things that would come out would be some homemade chicken soup.
Yeah,
right?
homemade chicken soup.
And somehow, despite the sort of, I'm sure my mom wasn't putting like Tylenol in the soup, but somehow I always felt significantly better after a warm bowl of soup. And so my brother and I thought, well, this is the thing, right? It's got this healing, it's got this nurturing quality to it. And there isn't much around New Haven that focuses solely on soup.
Okay.
There's
Well,
one.
tease us. I mean, we're not just saying tomato or chicken. We're talking about some.
Yeah, no, there's all different kinds of stuff. We're
Yeah.
definitely trying to take a sort of we're trying to be sort of cultural
Okay.
in what we're doing. So a big thing in the Caribbean communities is a soup called sancocho.
All right.
Sancocho is a sort of Caribbean root stew. It's made with all kinds of great stuff. It's very thick. It's very hearty. It's perfect for wintertime. Yeah. It's served with a little side of rice, and it's fantastic.
So you're saying that I can order some from you?
You can absolutely.
All right, so tease us with some names.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So we've got some black bean soup.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the sancocho that I mentioned earlier. I do a coconut curry cabbage, which is all vegan.
Okay.
The black bean is vegan, by the way. I do a standard chicken soup, which is not so standard. It's delicious, of course.
All right.
And then the other one we have on the menu is it's a tom kha gai, which is a Thai,
you borrowed my name?
coconut.
Did you say you borrowed my?
Well, the Thai folks borrowed your name.
The Thai folks borrowed my name.
Borrowed your
I
name
believe in some reparations here. This doesn't sound right to me. This does not sound right.
My sense, though, Tom, to be fair, is that the soup may have been here before you, brother.
I see, but my spirit is kind of eternal. So
well,
I mean,
there you go. That's fair. That's fair. Well, here's an interesting thing about soup, man. Every culture has soup.
Okay.
Every culture has soup. There isn't a culture out there that doesn't eat soup.
So
everybody
how
has
can
soup.
I get my greedy little hands and stomach on it?
So right now, the primary way to get in touch with us is via our Facebook page.
Okay.
So there is Facebook. It's Sopa New Haven.
And how do you spell that?
SOPA.
SOPA.
SOPA. Yep. Sopa. It's Spanish for soup.
Sopa.
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 All right.
There you go. Spanish. It's Spanish for soup, so you can find us there.
All right.
You put your order in, and basically the way that it works is we'll put out a menu. Here are the soups that are available. Everything is small batch, Tom.
Okay.
So we're doing small batch stuff. We're
like a pint or a quart when you say small batch.
No. I mean, like we only make it in small batches, so it's not mass produced. So the soup that you're going to get is going to be fresh made.
Okay, good.
You know, it's going to be basically fresh made that week for you.
Good.
Right. And yes, we sell them by the pint.
Okay.
And basically how it works is we'll have a menu of 3 to 4 soups available.
Good.
You pick one that you like.
Good.
On a Friday, and then typically by a Tuesday or Wednesday they'll be ready for delivery.
Good.
Yeah.
We might not get to your music part, but I'm gonna try to squeeze in. But link for me the reciprocal communion paradigm that you've developed given your consulting business, your coaching business.
Yeah.
And now this entrepreneurial business thing. I mean, one of the books that we know 20, 30, 40 years ago, boy, time flies, is Chicken Soup for the Soul kind of thing. It was kind of one of the more popular ones
for sure
decades ago. But what's the connection, if any, between Sopa and potent
perspective? Yeah, I'm really glad you asked that, Tom. That's a great question.
All my questions are great.
They're all great, Tom. I've had a marvelous time. Thank you very much for inviting me on your illustrious show again. Honored to be here. But to answer your great question,
absolutely,
with a great answer.
Make America great again, man. We got to make America great again because we're losing it. We're winning.
Let's just make it great the first time.
First time. I like that. Amen. Amen.
Right.
Amen.
Okay. All right. Good. So what it is there's 2 ways there's a couple of ways in which we're incorporating the coaching piece and the SOPA piece. So one is we want to encourage conversation, people connecting with each other. And so the eventual goal is we will be sending our soups out with a question. And it will be a question to ponder, a question to think about, either within yourself or if you're having it with others, a question to kind of ask each other.
That's cute. I like that.
It'll be something simple sometimes. Sometimes it'll be maybe something a little more deep. But for example, one question might be, what's a thing that you're most grateful for today? Something very straightforward and simple, but it gives you a chance to connect in with your own sense of gratitude, which is critically important, and also may give you some insight into another person that you may be talking to, right?
Good.
So it's a sort of a conversation piece to have over soup, right? So that's sort of part one. Part two is we're going to be doing these tastings on occasion. When we introduce new soups, we'll be having these kind of pop-up soup tastings. And During those soup tastings, we will also be holding community conversations. And so this will be a topic that's specific to that community that folks want to talk about, right? So one of the things that we hear buzzing all over the place right now is this idea of gentrification.
Yes.
And what that means inside of New Haven for folks who are struggling to pay for their housing costs, which are skyrocketing around the city, right? So perhaps that would be the topic of a conversation over a nice hot bowl of soup, right? So that's kind of part 2, and then part 3 is eventually when we open up a brick and mortar, because that's sort of
tremendous, great,
down the line,
great, okay.
That we would actually have a space dedicated for these community conversations, where people can come, and they're specifically not my agenda, but rather the agenda of the community. I'm an experienced facilitator and mediator, so I can facilitate and mediate conversations. But it's not about me. It's rather about the folks coming to enjoy the soup.
We're winding down, and I feel rushed, but actually, I think this is going to sound kind of not strange, but I really mean it heartfelt. We could. I sincerely believe, Eric, we could talk for almost like a full day on a variety of things. Yeah. But we don't have that. We have roughly, not the full day ahead of us, but roughly 90 seconds remaining. Seconds. So as we kind of wind down, let's conclude, if we could, on the three R's. Okay. The 3 R's. Just give folks a chance to kind of, we can experience it right now, and also practice after we go off the air. So again, this is the Tom Ficklin Show. Eric Ray is with us. We're going to close out on the 3 R's, kind of a practice that we all can kind of indulge in and embrace, and also just deliciously feel and taste and see and visualize what these 3 R's are all about. So we'll conclude on these 3 R's.
Yeah. So thank you, Tom. The 3 R's are reset, regroup, and refocus. Reset is about taking a moment to just breathe. So this is kind of a mindfulness practice. So you breathe in 5 seconds, breathe out 5 seconds. You do that 3 times, Tom. So in and out 3 times. Okay. And once you've done that, you move on to the regroup. Regroup is really about gratitude. So it's finding a moment that you are grateful for. And more than just thinking about that moment, it's actually reliving that moment. It's actually getting deep into that moment. Remember where you were, remember what was happening, remember why it was that you were so grateful for that moment. Who was there with you? What did it smell like? What did it look like? Really reliving that moment. And when you have filled your cup with that gratitude, you move on to the refocus. So that's back into the moment, figuring out what is the most important thing about that moment. And that's about using your values. That's about using your purpose and your mission. What do I need to get accomplished right here and right now in this moment to move past this space of frustration that I might be in right now? And so those are the 3 R's. And it's a quick practice. Typically, it could take you no more than 3 or 4 minutes. But it's a way to sort of get back to that moment that's most important.
Indeed. Thanks for sharing that. This is the Tom Ficklin Show as we enter this holiday season and celebration season and religious season and sacred season. But every day, every moment is a 24/7, 365 present, and really it should be a fulfilling experience. And Eric, thank you for kind of being with us and
my pleasure.
Letting us know how this is. It's not only a possibility, but it's a reality as well.
For sure.
So let's make it happen, everyone. Talk to you again next Monday. Eric, thanks a lot. Harry, thank you. And again, WNHH really just appreciate their providing this community platform for communion, Eric, in a really real and distinct way. Yeah. Talk to you guys next week.
Thank you, Tom.
Let's camera action, I'm ready to go. I'm never gonna give up, fall down. I just gotta get up, hey. Yeah, this is my